denies the existence of God, regardless of what somebody says about their position and regardless of what they think about their position. A position will either affirm or deny the God implicitly.
Darth, do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
Okay, I recognize your name.
He's a very, very good man.
He's a fucking retard, dude. He fucking muted me because I wanted to ask a question. Fucking cunt.
Oh, Panzerkind wants to ask a question. Is that okay, Darth? Just one question?
Tell you what, I'll be magnanimous. I'll give him one more chance, but if he screws up, he'll be permanent.
Okay, what I was trying to ask you before you interrupted me, and that made me fucking pissed off, is...
I don't care if you, facts don't care about your feelings.
Okay, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I thought you enjoyed that. And you know why I say that? Because snowflakes like
God, you're still fucking interrupting me.
Right. Now, if
you don't want to be interrupted,
I'm going to give you a little taste of your own medicine. Now, you better change your tune, or I will mute you.
Okay, fine.
Be obnoxious with me one more time when we're done.
All right. My question is because you were talking about systems of logic. Is there one monolith? Is there one single system of logic?
Is there? Well, there is one foundational way of thinking that is ordained of God, whereby we think in terms of the law of identity, law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle. Okay, are there other systems of logic? Are there other systems of logic that build upon that? Yes, there are. But everybody employs the law of identity and non-contradiction.
So every system of logic employs non-contradiction?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what the law of non-contradiction is?
Yeah, that A cannot be both A and not A, basically.
Right, right. Therefore, for any predication or assertion or statement to be meaningful, okay, it cannot equal or coexist with its negation. Otherwise, if it can, it doesn't mean anything. There's no intelligibility to the statement. Now, you might have a logical system, like, for example, in computer programming, where you might have a third state.
Boolean, right?
Yeah.
There's a Boolean logic.
That's semantical and epistemological, not ontological.
Mm.
So, for example, just to give you an illustration, okay, I'm either online or I'm not online. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the representation of it, okay, you could have a third state that's undetermined. But that's epistemological, not ontological.
Okay. I'm still.
Now let's get back to the issue of atheism. Do you deny the existence of God?
Do I deny? So basically, the way I see it is, I'm on a jury, right? And God is on trial, and we are trying to determine whether God is guilty or not guilty of existing. And I haven't been presented with sufficient evidence to render.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Do you know how many times I've dealt with this?
Probably a lot, because it's a good analogy.
Hundreds and hundreds. No, it isn't. You're in for a big surprise. You have no idea what's coming.
Surprise me, okay?
Okay.
Do it.
Okay. Now, what you're saying is you're defining your atheism as a stance of neutrality where you withhold belief.
Exactly.
Right. Now the hammer's going to come down. There is no position of neutrality. Okay, listen, and you're going to learn. There is no position. You can giggle all you want. You're in for a big surprise. Okay? Your position necessarily entails the falsity of God, but you're not.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, listen. I told you not to fucking over talk me, little man. I told you you're going to learn something today. If you weren't so fucking impulsive, maybe I may stick around long enough to enlighten you.
Please enlighten me.
Good. So you better stop trolling. I've already overlooked it 3 times already.
Dude, I
Now,
don't even know what trolling is.
listen, dude. You have no idea how patient I'm being with you. You are pushing it to the limits.
Well, you certainly seem patient.
Okay, fuck off, you little snot-nosed little punk. You have the mind of a 14-year-old in a 22-year-old's body. You are unworthy of being responded to. Bye-bye, we're done with you. You are a moron.
Pray about it.
Okay, now you're muted.
You should pray for patience. Fucking twat. Dude, just kick
See,
where is
one thing people are going to learn on Discord, I don't put up with fucking trolls.
What's a troll? I don't even know what a troll is.
Okay? I do not put up with it.
Troll is.
Tell your little friend I'm going to put a notation down in his account, and he has a somewhat memorable voice. Okay, not to talk with this little fucker.
Tell him that he sounds really gay.
Okay, Panzerkind, do not talk to again.
Dude, why is he still here? Ectoplasm, tell him that he can fuck off.
Hey, Darth.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Tell him to fuck off. Tell him to kill himself, please.
Can you, I'm
fuck
sorry.
off.
Stop. Can you, explain
Why you're retarded.
evolution to us and Big Bang and
fucking Christ.
all the scientific evidence for that?
I don't hold to the Darwin's theory of evolution.
Fucking retard.
Why is that?
So stupid.
Why? It's
Oh my
because
God,
it's
so
junk
retarded.
science.
Oh my God.
Explain.
Idiot.
That's kind of a
Yeah,
large claim.
it is a large claim. First of all, Darwin had a very nominal belief in God growing up, and as the years went on, that dissipated till finally, prior to him culminating in his plagiarizing various ideas on evolution into his Origin of the Species, which, as I said, it was plagiarized. He had become an atheist. Now, in the Victorian era, nobody would come out and call themselves an atheist. You'd be better off calling yourself a child torturer and kidnapper, right? So Charles Darwin, in his own journals, referred to himself as a materialist. So as he was moving from a nominal belief in God to becoming a materialist, he wanted to come up with an explanation of origins that was purely materialistic and mechanistic. Charles Darwin had no conception of the magnitude and the complexity that the cell is, and of the complexity of the genome. Had he known what that was, he would have abandoned his theory of evolution. So he just thought that these minute changes occurred, and that all the good little changes would stick around, through environmental pressures over a long period of time, and then poof, we have human beings. Okay, now that's a bit of a oversimplification.
Oh my God.
Now, one of the evidences for evolution is, for example, the idea that random mutations is the fundamental mechanism for the rising of complex genetic information.
Retard.
All right, so what you have is individual or multiple mutations. Even, for example, the concept of polyploidism, where there's a transfer of genetic information from one organism to another, or gene duplication. The bottom line is all based upon mutations as the mechanism for the arrival of genetic information. And then when you have mutation, okay, and then you have an increase of fitness, then at that point, you have greater survivability and reproduction. So you have random mutations, a long series of random mutations, because the nucleotides in the genome have to be very long to code for complex anatomy and physiology. They're not short, right? But unfortunately, there's a probabilistic problem. The longer these coding sequences get, the greater the mathematical improbability comes for randomness to produce the information, even allowing for
Not
13.7
random.
billion years, or even allowing a gargantuan number of Earth-like planets, which is
Not
in itself
random.
problematic. Now, when we observe
Wrong.
beneficial mutations, beneficial mutations does not in any way support the notion that mutations could accumulate and accrue in a linear fashion in the genome to produce an ever-increasing hierarchy of complex anatomy and physiology resulting in a common ancestry. Okay, so for example, one of the issues is, like, for example, they take E. coli and they multiply that or reproduce it in the millions of generations, and some of them will mutate where they can digest substances that they couldn't digest before. And they give this as an example of, quote, evolution in action. But it's not at all. We don't have a creation of new genetic information. All we have is a mutation
Oh
that
my
produces a
God.
novel effect on pre-existent complex biological pathways for digestion. So we don't have the arrival of new genetic information producing all new complex anatomy and physiology. And so what happens is people go in high school and in college, and they get educated in evolution, and they do not hear the counter arguments. The reason why is because the theory of evolution in academia and in the sciences is dogma. Materialism has taken over since the time of Charles Darwin. Okay.
Right.
And so they're masquerading the materialistic outlook in terms of origins and cosmological origins and biological origins says we will only consider purely materialistic and mechanistic explanations for the origin of the cosmos
Wrong.
and of biological life. But what they don't realize,
Fucking
that's not
wrong.
science. That's a metaphysical explanation of
You're
origin stories.
fucking wrong.
Okay, so first of all,
God damn it.
mutations, beneficial
Fucking
mutations cannot account for the arrival of complex genetic information. We don't see
Wrong.
mutations actually producing that. Okay, the
Wrong.
fossil record exemplifies stasis. It does not
Wrong.
exemplify transition.
Fucking retard. You
The
guys
fossil
are
record is
brain
exactly what
cells.
you would
What
expect
the
to find
fuck? Holy
if there
shit,
was
you're
a
reading the
worldwide
fucking
flood,
script. I swear to God.
rather than evolution. That's why Stephen Jay Gould, one of the foremost paleontologists in the
Dude, this guy's
world,
like a fucking
along
AI.
with other paleontologists, promote punctuated equilibrium, which is the idea that evolution happens in such rapid bursts it leaves behind no telltale fossilized remains. Well, why would they be advocates of this? Because they knew, and they actually wrote, that the trade secret of paleontologists is that there are no
What is this
widespread
reading?
examples
Oh,
of
rational
transitional
anger.
forms. Now, the mistake
Holy
people make when they
shit.
hear that is they think that they've
Just
been
the arrogance.
brainwashed to believe that the
Arrogance
so-called
is the
fossilized
fucking retard.
remains is replete
I
with
am
transitional
so
forms. It is
fucked.
not. Gould himself stated that, we have examples of in the
Much of
fossil
that is
record
an
of
RV.
creatures on the tips and nodes of the phylogenetic tree. But when we talk about all the intermediary species, we do not find it. People think that when they go into a museum and they see the whale fossil evolution, that's evidence of whale fossil. No, it's not. It's utter conjecture. All they've simply done is they've taken certain extinct skeletons and they've put them in a sequential form that they imagined that they evolved in. Okay. There is no empirical methodology.
I don't think that's very accurate, though, Darth.
Oh, it's dead on accurate. It's 100%.
I don't think they rearrange the bones.
No, you're not understanding it because there is no arrangement found in the bones.
Tell
Yeah,
him
but
that.
it's like a puzzle.
Wait, tell him
No,
that.
sir. You listen. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
But
Tell
like,
him.
look at neural networks and computer.
Let me explain something to you. Right
Tell him
now,
if
when
he
I get
mutes me,
done
then I'll
talking with you
explain
about it,
something
I'll be
different.
glad to share with you some electronic books on the falsity of the theory of evolution written by a PhD. Okay, and I'll give it to you for free. Right, it's an electronic format.
I bet.
Now, I mean, I could go on, but you see, there's a bigger issue here. I could go on for hours trashing the theory of evolution and showing you why it's garbage. But if you're an atheist, because you're going to be suffering from confirmation bias, you'll just say, no, 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 no.
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay.
Are you
an atheist?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about the bigger picture, okay? Because the theory of evolution is simply a symptom of the underlying problem, and that is autonomous reasoning, okay? Atheism, agnosticism, and all other rejections of Christianity are the practice of autonomous reasoning. As a result of autonomous reasoning, okay, they reject that God is the source and the origin and the paradigm for everything, including reasoning. That's why I stated autonomous reasoning. As a result of that, it's inevitable that you will have the flavor of autonomous reasoning that will raise its head, especially when science is developing, going back into the late 19th century till now, is materialistic atheism. Well, excuse me, I should say that's redundant. But it's inevitable that they're going to say, well, listen, when they start with a not God position, they're going to try to say, well, there has to be some mechanistic, materialistic way to account for our descent. All right. Let me give you an example. Do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
Yeah, he's a really good dude.
No, he's not. He's a jerk.
He's doing a lot of good things, though.
No, he's not. In fact, he's even had a number of accusations of groping women. But he's
I don't really think those are true.
Okay, well that's another subject. Okay, for example, I'm going to ask you a question. All right.
If you would unmute
me.
When Neil deGrasse Tyson says that we are stardust, that the elements in our body were forged in the furnace. No, sir, that's not Carl Sagan. That's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Literally is.
Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson stated this. Now,
no, I know the quote you're talking about.
Let me finish. Now,
okay.
Carl Sagan may have stated it also. It's not relevant. Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson repeatedly states this in interviews on national TV. He says, we are stardust. We are made of the elements that were forged in the furnaces of stars. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Is that a scientific statement, or is it a metaphysical statement?
That's very scientific.
Wrong. You see?
Tell him to unmute me,
because you've been brainwashed.
Tell him to
in
fucking
the modern scientific materialistic outlook.
Wait, Darth.
I'm going to explain it to you.
No, tell him to shut up. I mean, I explain exactly how it happens.
Can I talk like for 1 second?
Go ahead.
This might sound insulting, but Panzerkin wants to say one more thing. You can mute him after, but he wants to say one more thing.
No, I gave him 4 chances.
Oh, okay. He's the arbitrator.
No, he told me.
We're done. We're done. Okay. I gave him many chances, and he wanted to be a super dick. So we're done.
All right, we're all done.
Okay. Now we're going to get back to Neil deGrasse Tyson's. Now you said it was scientific. Now.
Yes.
Now I'm going to explain to you why it is not. Okay. It may be the case that the world around us operates in terms of chemistry and physics. And it may be the case that right now, internally, given the immense amount of pressures, atomic forces, and heat, that lower elements such as hydrogen and helium are forming into higher elements. I don't think that anybody who has a basic understanding of what the current position on atomic theory is would object to that. But the statement that the elements in my body only came from stars is an atheistic declaration. It's a statement that the universe around us is not the product of a fiat creation, but that it is in turn the product of purely materialistic succession. So now Neil deGrasse Tyson said there's three kinds of truth. There's objective truth, there's personal truth, and there's political truth. And he said, and you can see this on the Joe Rogan show. Now he said,
you watched Joe Rogan?
He was on Joe Rogan show, yeah.
Oh, sweet. I like Joe Rogan too.
So he said, objective truth is where we have an experiment and it is repeated over and over and over and over again by different people in different parts of the world using different equipment, and we keep on getting the same result. And we can predict with a 100% accuracy the outcome. Now he says that's objective truth. Then he says personal truth is just something that you personally intently believe that something is the case. And he differentiates personal truth from objective truth. Then he says there's political truth. And that's just what people come to believe because they've been told that from the powers on high. Okay, because they repeat something over. Okay, and he would use stuff like illustrations like there are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq or something like that. Okay, because he liked the Bush bash, right? Now, given that he's defined that there's three kinds of truth, when he says that we are stardust, that the elements in our body were forged from the furnaces of the stars, where does that fit into Neil deGrasse Tyson's scheme of objective, personal, and political truth? Which truth is that?
Oh my god, if you unmute me, I can fucking explain it to you. Ugh. I can explain it to you down to the smallest detail. Holy
Which
shit.
is it? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson giving us an objective truth?
Oh my god.
Is he giving us a personal truth?
My
or is
god.
he giving us a political truth
god.
when he says that the elements in our body were forged in the furnaces of stars? Which is it?
Oh my god. I can tell you exactly how it happens.
That's
exactly
an
how it
objective truth.
Oh, okay, good. Now, okay, who witnessed that the elements in my body came from the furnace of a star?
You fucking idiot. I can tell him exactly how it happens.
You don't really need a witness.
I can tell you exactly how it
okay.
happens.
So the point is you are presupposing that
you can witness
we
stars.
are from a totally mechanistic, materialistic
see
origin. You're
form.
presupposing that's a metaphysical position that has not been established by observation, testing, and repeatability.
I can explain exactly how it happens.
It is simply a prevailing paradigm of materialism in science, going back to Big Bang cosmology. Oh, there was a Big Bang. And because of the Big Bang, there was inflation. And then what we have is we have stars forming and planets forming, et cetera, et cetera.
Inflation has been disproven.
Right? Now, nobody observed that the elements in my body came from stars.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so it is not, listen, it is not the fact that higher elements may currently form in stars from lower elements is fine. But that doesn't mean that that is where stars and the planets came from. The belief that the stars and the planets came from an explosion, okay, and an inflationary process comes to you in the name of science, but it is not science. It is simply materialism offering up a purely mechanistic explanation to account for the current phenomenon of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay, it is a metaphysical explanation posing as science.
It is science.
Okay,
fucking idiot.
But it is science.
No, that's right. You have been brainwashed to believe that certain retrodictions of the past are science or a body of knowledge.
Idiots.
They are not. There's a big difference between observing, testing, and repeatability versus saying that the origin of the sun, the moon, and the stars is from a purely mechanistic occurrence. If I say that the sun and the moon and the stars were the fiat creation of the personal absolute,
you would have to demonstrate that.
Let me put it another way.
You have to demonstrate that, though.
Let's listen. First of all, that's a ridiculous idea because you cannot repeat.
He doesn't have
the
to
past.
demonstrate his claims. He doesn't have to demonstrate.
Okay. You see, you're not thinking outside of the box, and people who get brainwashed into certain areas, The reason why they're brainwashed is because they haven't been confronted with the errors of the system that they have adopted, and they think that the system that they've adopted is true. Now, let me give you an example, okay? Are you an atheist?
Yeah.
Okay. So you believe that your origin, so you reject that the ultimate origin of everything is a personal, absolute creator God. You do not accept that.
No.
Okay? Right. Now, you can't have predications or assertions or beliefs in a vacuum. They're all going to be derivative. So since your ideas and predications are not derivative of a personal, absolute creator God, what you believe about existence in the present and including the past will also be derivative. And it will be derivative of something that is absolute, unconditionally non-dependent, and impersonal. Okay? You don't have a choice. That's it. Either your origin is from a personal absolute, non-dependent, personal absolute, or it's an impersonal absolute. Now, because you believe that the ultimacy of reality is an impersonal absolute, then what you're going to be explaining from here on out is some type of a cause and effect, causal connections, and laws of nature explanation for everything, because that's what your paradigm requires. You because of your confirmation bias, you cannot allow that the origins are anyway the product of design or of a fiat creation by a personal absolute. So what happened was, around the time of Charles Darwin, when the scientific discoveries were rapidly accelerating, okay, the scientists in that realm, once they said, well, wait a minute, we don't need a God to explain all the beautiful animals. We have a mechanism here, natural selection, okay? And when tiny little changes are made in reproduction, whether it's sexual or asexual, all the good little changes will accumulate in a vast universe over a long period of time, and poof, then we're going to have this this robust, gargantuan information system known as the genome. Well, that's a nice fantasy, but it's never been demonstrated, even in a laboratory setting.
Unlike God.
Right? But now, the bottom line is this. You believe that there's an impersonal absolute, which explains all dependency states, and that would include stars and planets and everything in the universe, right?
Ask him that, please.
Isn't that correct, Ectoplasm?
Ask him if God has been demonstrated in a laboratory setting.
Okay, now.
But wait, can God be demonstrated in a laboratory setting?
No. No, the ultimacy of reality. You see the mistake that you're making. This is a very common deception because of the brainwashing of materialism. Is that the only things that are worthy of believing are those things that can be verified empirically or by your senses. Okay. Now,
well, no, not by senses.
You can't let him monologue like that.
In science, you can't trust your senses.
Okay, good. Then you shouldn't be. If you can't trust your senses, then how do you know you can't trust your senses?
Because it's not very accurate.
You're not You're not understanding your mistake.
We can't trust ectoplasm.
Yeah, you're making so many mistakes. You're not even aware of your mistakes. See, it's a good thing you invited me here. Is because after I talk with you a few times, you're going to walk away with a completely new perspective on things.
Tell him to unmute me.
Okay.
Oh my
God.
If
you say, listen, let me explain something to you. If you say you can't trust your senses, that statement alone, if you state that, then I'm going to say,
dude.
How do you know you can't trust your senses? You know how you're going to tell me? Is you're going to make an appeal that your senses reveal to you the fallibility of your senses.
No.
Okay, which would be self-refuting. What you should say is that you're operating under the position that you have a basic reliability of your sense perception. And the basic reliability of sense perception has indicated that some of your senses are not working optimally or less than perfectly. Okay?
Well, we have instruments that prove that our
Listen.
Senses aren't very
Let me look. You're a nice kid, and I appreciate your questions. And I don't want to discourage you from making objections or asking questions here on out.
Bring it up. Don't.
But what you're not aware of is you're making so many mistakes in what you're saying. You're not aware of it. So I'm going to have to go through these one by one, and we're not going to be able to do it in one evening.
Spam.
Okay?
Hands are kind on mute.
All right. So,
Okay. Wait.
in empiricism, right? Empiricism is a metaphysical outlook on the present and on the past. And empiricism is the idea, which is represented in what is called scientism, that the only beliefs
Not a real word.
that are worthy of being held are those beliefs that can be verified through sense perception or empirical endeavors.
That's right.
Okay?
Tell him that's
Now,
right.
is that a
That's
view?
right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, now I'm about to drop an atomic bomb on that. Right? Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, before I do, just to give you an illustration, the Japanese had no idea of the power of our atomic program. They had no idea.
yeah, they did.
And after we dropped 2 atomic bombs, then they completely surrendered. Now, here comes the bomb. The idea that the only beliefs that are worthy of accepting or believing as true are those beliefs that are verified by your sense perceptions and empirical endeavors is a self-refuting concept. It's self-contradictory. Okay? It's called being self-stultification. If you say that the only beliefs that are worthy of being held to or that are to be considered true are those beliefs that are verified by your senses, then what sense perception verified that idea? Do you have an answer to that question?
Tell him
Can you
Pandrican
repeat?
does. Tell him Pandrican
Yeah,
does.
if I
Wait,
take
wait,
this,
wait, wait,
if I
Darth.
take this, if I take this
Panzerkind
statement-
does. Panzerkind is
Okay,
is
okay,
speaking to you.
Ecto, listen to me. How old are you, Ecto?
I am 16.
Okay, I appreciate the honest answer. Now, I have other servers I can go to, right?
Tell him to go.
Now, I don't want to hear about Panzer anymore. He's a moron. He's a troll. Okay,
I'm not a
he
troll.
was warned many times to up his game. Now,
Wait, but what if I told him to be
I'm not
polite?
okay. No, okay, Ecto, we're done. Okay, I'm not
Be
going to
done.
discuss it any further.
Be
Now,
done with him.
Let me
Be done with
explain
him,
this to
Ecto.
you.
Be done with him, Ecto. Just be done
Have
with
you
him.
ever heard of verificationism?
Just be done with him.
No, I haven't.
Okay,
Just be done with him.
verificationism was a philosophical, metaphysical outlook that was propagated in the first half of the 20th century.
Just be done with this.
And
dude.
verificationism said that the only
go
statements
back to
about
the
existence that are to be considered true, worthy of belief, or
I'm
meaningful
fucking tired of
were
this dude
those
derailing this
statements
room.
that could be verified by your senses. Verificationism got obliterated in the 20th century. There are virtually no verificationists anymore. Even atheists who get PhDs in philosophy do not accept verificationism because they will learn when they take courses
All
that
this
verificationism is
fucking
a
bullshit.
self-contradiction. So
Does
if
he
you
have
say
evidence?
the
Does he have any
only
evidence?
things that we will
Do you have
accept as
evidence?
truth,
Do you have any evidence?
I'm
God?
trying to explain this to you. Please listen.
Ask him for evidence. Nothing.
But do you have evidence?
Okay,
Give evidence for God.
listen.
Do you
If
have
you
evidence?
keep
Just keep asking
impulsively
it. Keep
interrupting me,
keep
I'm
asking
going
it.
to leave.
Just keep
I'm-
asking it.
Okay?
Well,
Keep asking
I'm
it.
sorry, but like
Shut
I
up!
need
Shut
it.
up and
Just keep
shut
asking.
up and listen.
Don't shut up. Just keep asking.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Darth,
All right,
I'm not
listen,
trying
listen.
to be rude.
No, if you don't stop, listen.
Don't-
If you're gonna have a
don't
conversation, if it's Darth.
Don't
I mean, you sound
Keep
like a
asking.
little child. Now
Keep
listen
asking.
to me
Say
carefully.
evidence over and over.
I have had this exact conversation before
Just say evidence.
with
Just say the word evidence.
atheists, literally hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Say the
This
word
is a subject
evidence.
matter that I know like the back of my
Say the
hand.
word
I'm going to explain to you why
Just keep saying it. Just keep saying it. I believe in you.
empiricism and verificationism is
Ecto,
to
make
be
me proud.
abandoned. Okay? I'm going to ask you a question, Ecto. I want to see
One
how
more
sharp
time.
you are. If I told you for your birthday I'm going to give
Right
you
in
a
the middle of
solid gold
Say evidence.
square triangle, would you
I
take
would
it?
be so grateful.
I would say yes, and I would
Oh,
also
okay,
ask
alright.
you for evidence.
Okay, now here's the problem. Because you're 16 years old, You haven't been exposed enough educationally to understand that no such object can exist because it is a contradiction in terms. Okay? A square and a triangle have precise definitions. A square triangle can no more exist than a married bachelor. There cannot be a married bachelor because bachelors by definition are unmarried.
Yeah, but what's the evidence of
Okay?
God?
Now, there cannot exist a square triangle because
what
the
if
very
in, like, the fourth
listen,
dimension?
I'm trying to explain something to you, okay? Now,
Dude, Hector, you can't stop
empiricism
talking
is the
when
view that the
when
only
you decide
things that are to
interruption.
be
You just
considered
can't.
true
Okay.
are those things that are verified by your sense perception or the extension of your sense perceptions in empirical endeavors. That statement is a self-contradiction. It's incoherent, and here's why. How do you verify with your senses the statement, the only things to be considered true are verified by your sense perception? How do you verify that by your sense perception? The answer is you can't.
So you say
Now,
you don't know.
young people.
So you say you don't know?
No, you're not understanding. Okay. What I just explained to you, empiricism is an extension of verificationism philosophically, right? Both empiricism and verificationism are literally not, it's not my opinion, it's literally self-contradictory. Because if you say that all truths that we accept must be verified by sense perception, then what sensory occurrence did you have to verify that all truths must be verified by
Ask him
sense
if
perception?
when he makes
The
a bank
answer is there
transfer, does
is
he see
none.
it if it was verified?
Okay, so it cannot be verified.
What?
It is self-refuting.
Ask him if he makes a bank transfer,
All
if
right.
he
Now,
waits to see if it's verified.
Wait, but
so if you
he
say,
has to make a bank.
Ecto, are you carrying on a conversation with somebody else? Because if
Yeah.
you are, I'm going to leave the room. Now,
Say yes.
if
I'm
you
only
say-
talking to myself.
listen, okay, if you say that some beliefs require sense perception, or if you say that some beliefs require empirical endeavors to be believed, that's fine. Nobody's going to have a problem. But when you say that all beliefs require sensory verification, then what sensory verification verifies the statement all beliefs must have sensory verification? Because if you do that, then you're not going to be able to verify the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle, which are going to be needed
You just
in
contradicted
order to
himself
do
because
any
you
type
said
of
John's
logical
not
or
a
scientific reasoning.
verificationist, but he thinks of
You
those things to
cannot
be verified.
verify the law of identity or the law of non-contradiction through sense perception.
But he
Okay,
doesn't
the
believe in
fact that you may experience consistencies that reflect the law of identity. Okay, the fact that you may experience consistencies that are congruent with the law of identity and non-contradiction does not verify the law of non-contradiction. To appeal to that is the fallacy of induction. Okay?
Yes.
Now you better do
Induction
something
is
with
not
these trolls or
fallacy.
I'll leave. I have plenty of other places where people want to talk to me. I didn't
I
have
want to talk to you.
Okay. So
Yeah, I want to talk
so,
to.
yeah,
I would
so
love to talk to you.
so
Kai wants to
so what
talk to him,
happens
but
is
he
we have a
muted him.
generation of people, including atheists, who have been brainwashed in scientism and materialism, and they're not adept at philosophy, but they think that they're champions of reason, and they're not.
Sure, I
Okay.
wish this dude wasn't
So
such
the
a
point
fucking
is
pussy.
simply this: is when
People
you
challenge
demand quote unquote
points.
evidence in order to believe in something, okay, it will be like a dog eating its
pussy.
own
He just wants
tail
to
in
argue
its
with
own
kids.
leg.
He just wants to argue with children.
Because evidence itself requires certain truth claims before you can even
Everybody
invoke
is
it.
going,
Evidence
don't
entails
challenge
causal
anything this
relations.
guy
Are you
says,
aware of
or he'll
that?
fucking mute you because he's a pussy.
Okay. Ecto, are you aware that evidence entails causal relations and connections?
No.
No.
Okay. Are you saying you don't accept that, or you haven't heard of it?
You don't accept it.
I don't accept it.
Okay. Well, then you're clueless. Okay. Evidence means that something
Congratulations,
indicates something else.
Lewis.
Something stands in causal relations to something else.
Could be an
Okay.
effect.
If the poop is evidence of the dog defecating, then the poop stands in causal relations with the dog, and the dog stands in causal relations with the poop. Okay? Evidence entails causal relations.
He called the poop shit.
Yeah. Evidence entails causal relations and connections between two states. Okay? If B is evidence of A, then A stands in causal relations with B and vice versa. Okay? Now, if you're going to say that you require evidence for everything, which is quite typical of the brainwashing of materialism and scientism, especially of young people today, then all I have to do is take any belief that you hold, okay, and ask you what the evidence is for it. For example, if you're going to make any meaningful statement, all right, that statement will either be stating that which is absolute or that which is depending on the absolute. Okay. Now, did you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Okay. What is your evidence for the absolute that all of your dependency statements derive from?
Doesn't have to be an absolute.
It doesn't have to be an absolute.
No, you're not understanding it. If you deny or do not accept that there is something fundamentally absolute, non-dependent, and that provides for all contingency states,
He has to
then you
demonstrate
cannot
that.
make any.
You have to demonstrate that, though.
Listen to me. Listen. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder why I waste my time talking with teenagers.
Oh,
Listen to
Ecto,
me.
good job. You
You
got
have to
him.
understand something.
You got him.
If you say
Fucking got him.
when you say you have to demonstrate that, you just agreed with what I was saying.
Ecto,
and you
you
don't
win.
even realize
Congratulations,
it.
man.
Okay. Demonstrability is going to be justification or providing a basis for a proposition. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you say you have to demonstrate that, right?
Do you know what half
Now,
of these words mean?
do I know what half of it? Yes, I do. If you say you have to demonstrate that, what you are actually saying is you must provide a basis for the assertion of X, Y, Z.
What does
Yes.
assertion mean?
An assertion is uttering a proposition.
What does proposition mean?
All right, listen. If you don't even know what that is, then go look it up. I'm not gonna hold your hand here. Okay.
Muffin, you know
And I'm
you're
not
dealing
trying to
with.
be rude to you either, right? I don't have time for this.
He's an old
So,
man. He doesn't have
ectoplasm.
A
time for
confident and
this.
forceful statement of fact or belief.
Okay. Now, ectoplasm. If you say you have to demonstrate that, if you say all
I have a
beliefs,
proposition.
if you say all beliefs must be demonstrable, then how are you going to demonstrate the grounds of all demonstrability? You're not going to be able to do it because you would have to yourself have to be.
How do you spell demonstrable?
You assume it.
Look it up.
Ectoplasm. You.
Yeah,
How can I
Ecto.
look it up if I can't
Yeah,
spell it?
Ecto. If you're not
starting
going to stop these trolls, I will leave.
All right, guys, chill out. I'm trying to have a dialogue with him.
Yeah, I'm not going to put up with it. I've been patient enough.
Dude, fuck this guy. He doesn't have a.
Okay, so you better squash it right now, or I'm going to leave.
Tough guy. Fucking.
Okay.
You sound.
Dude, you have a really good
impatient.
mic.
You
Yeah,
do
well,
have a
Guys.
it's the microphone on a MacBook Pro.
Well, your MacBook
Oh, that
Air has a very good
explains
mic.
it all.
Yeah.
That explains it.
No.
Okay, so if you say you have to, in order to believe in
MacBook
anything,
Pro
not some
philosophy.
things, anything, it must be demonstrated. Then you're going to have a big problem. And then all I have to do is I say, okay, there are two possible states. You can state that something is absolute and unconditionally non-dependent, or something is derivative and dependent. Okay, it's either A or not A.
And each has to be
Now,
demonstrated.
since something exists, something is going to be unconditionally absolute non-dependent that provides for all dependency states.
He
or
has to
contingencies.
demonstrate that.
Now, if you
But
say,
don't you have to demonstrate that?
I'm trying to explain to you why that's a canard. Okay.
Explaining
Right,
is not
now,
demonstrating.
I'm trying to explain
Wait,
to you.
explaining
Listen,
isn't really
over talk me again, and I'm leaving.
Somebody over talk
Okay.
him, please.
When you say,
quiet, you don't want him leaving.
if you say, don't you have to demonstrate that? That statement is in agreement with me. You are essentially making the same point that I am making, but you're not realizing it. For
Isn't that
example,
just
if I say
agreement?
to you that either something is fundamentally absolute and non-dependent, or it is a state of dependency, okay? And you say, oh, give me justification for that. That statement is affirming what I just said, but you don't realize it.
What?
If you say demonstrate that, what you're saying is,
What the fuck is this guy going
if you
on
offer
about?
a proposition, you have to provide a basis. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. There must be a basis for all statements. Either the basis is within itself, or if what is being proposed is itself not fundamentally absolute, that proposition or that state of affairs will be derivative in terms of an ultimate basis. So the question I will simply ask you this: since when you talk about the world of science, you're dealing with complete contingencies. You're dealing with dependency states. If you say the sky is blue or the green grass blows in the wind,
The sky's not always blue.
Please don't nitpick about that. That's not. Don't be
You
stupid.
said it's something that's like absolute, right?
Listen to me.
The
Okay,
sky's not always blue.
You're muted. You're an idiot. Okay.
Ooh, that's a little bit.
No,
harsh.
Wait, what?
Okay.
No, that's true though.
I
It's
found a
not
hole in you.
Okay.
Yo,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
I
I
found
didn't
a
say
hole.
saying the
Found a hole
sky
in
is
your
blue is
argument, and
absolute.
you're mad at me.
I said,
Welcome
if
to the
you
club,
make the
McMuffin.
statement, the sky is blue, okay, these are statements of dependency. By the way, McMuffin, you're muted, okay? I'll tell the rest of you in here, if you don't have muted mics, if somebody is going to gratuitously overtalk me and interrupt me, I will mute you instantaneously. And I'm on the verge of
There
leaving
is a
anyway.
God. This
Okay.
man is him.
Now, whenever
See ya, losers.
whenever we make statements, okay, we almost entirely are making statements of dependency. Okay, we're not asserting that which is
Students making up
unconditionally
fucking
absolute and
words
non-dependent.
like they mean something.
Okay, so if you say, well, you demonstrate something to me. Well, when you
Should be pretty
demonstrate
easy
something
if God was real.
to somebody, there
Tell
has
me it
to
would be
be
easy
a
if God was
beginning
real.
point for the demonstrability.
It would be easy to
But if that
demonstrate God.
beginning point is in
It would be
itself not
self-evident.
unconditionally non-dependent, all you just simply invoked was a starting point that itself was a dependency state that the other person just merely accepts.
It's a nice poem.
But you see, that starting point, right, will either be a dependency state itself, or it will be unconditionally absolute and non-dependent. Okay? So all demonstrability is going to have to be in virtue, metaphysically, of something that is unconditionally absolute. And if you don't think that way, then whatever starting point that you use for demonstrability
That's the oldest
will
version
itself
of
not be
guarantee
demonstrated. It will just simply be accepted as a given, as an axiom. Okay?
Axiom.
Yes.
Okay, like
Yeah.
for example, how do you demonstrate that the external physical world is actual, Ecto? How would you demonstrate that?
You assume it.
You
You
can't.
assume it.
No, can you demonstrate it?
You assume it.
You assume it though.
It's the
Can
primary
you demonstrate it?
Tell them it's the primary datum.
Okay.
It's the primary datum.
Can you demonstrate that the external physical world is actual? Yes or no?
You don't know that it's actual.
You don't
just
know that it's
assume it
actual.
is.
Okay,
You
listen,
assume
I'm
that.
gonna ask you a question again. I do not ask questions for my own education.
Well, I answered the question.
No, sir, listen to me. You're gonna have to up
You
your
didn't get
intellectual
right.
game. I know you're 16,
You didn't
but
feed
you gotta
into
put
it.
on your thinking cap and act like you're much older. Okay? I'm asking you Socratic questions to teach you.
Dude, this dude.
I'm not looking for an argument from you.
Man, this is what's holding this country back.
Okay? Now,
Fucking
is a-
retards who think they're geniuses.
now
This is a server about the
you believe
not
in
teaching.
evolution because you think it's scientific. You
It
think
is
that
very
there's-
scientific.
Dude just
okay,
wants a monologue.
Okay, fuck off. I'm done.
Have you ever shit your
Bye.
pants, Darth? Oh.
Oh, here
Good
we
job,
go.
That was funny.
Finally.
Oh,
God.
Hey,
Thank
man.
God that
I'm
kid.
going
I
to stop
hate him.
recording now.